So what happened was, in terms of learning, I used to learn a lot of visual things. Like I used to draw a lot, and I used to design a lot. And based on this, I was able to create learning material for me, which I could remember for the longer term, or for quickly I could remember those things.
Right.
So I remember in my college time, I used to, instead of writing long text, filling the pages for two, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages, I used to draw the art. And the teacher was so, like, they didn't know how to parameterize it based on the artistic skills.
They were pissed
But I had to
off. They
explain.
were like, they were scolding you.
No, they were amazed. Like they never saw cartoon characters, and they had to evaluate the cartoon characters as an exam.
Right.
So in a way they got amazed also, and also they saw something different from the regular thing. From that I came up the concept of learning through visuals, because there are different levels of learning. People learn by listening, people learn by speaking out loud, they recite it out loud. Some people they learn from,
Reading.
or some kids they learn by reading, yeah. Some they learn by seeing the video, or seeing the video directly on the YouTube, or some different places. Like this, these are different ways of learning. So my way of teaching was more of the visual, like where I used a lot of cartoons, where I used a lot of characters, diagrams, to explain the things very creatively. And with this they were able to remember the things for a faster period, for a longer period, and more faster than the conventional way of learning.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk more about this because this is very fascinating. I know when we were working together in our first company, you used to take notes using visuals, like you said, and you used to take the notes by sketching down,
Mhm.
some concept like one person is doing something, and then so that you basically used to make a story of the lecture, right,
Yeah.
or class. So when we joined the company, we were having lots of classes about different technologies and different concepts, and we all were writing big notes, and you were just making some small pictures. One guy is doing that and all. So now at this point, have you tried using the same mode of learning with other kids who are now coming to your place or doing online classes with you?
Mhm. See, again, when I do all these kind of creative stuff, I explain how I have done things and what all things work for me. So I explain them that these are the things which you can use to learn faster, and which you can use to, like, take your notes creatively. And I started teaching mind maps, creative mind maps, to the kids.
Right.
And with this, like, they can use it in their geography, they can use it in their history, they can use it in like different subjects, complex subject like science, physics. So the main idea is how to take notes, the main idea is how to think creatively. Rest you can replicate anything almost. Even this conversation which we are doing, it can be graphically presented.
Right.
So anything which, like, anything can be presented in that way then. So it's more of the learning part, like how to think creatively in terms of that. And once you know how to think creatively, once you teach these things to the kids how to think creatively, they they even started doing more better than me. Like how I was doing, they had more idea, they had more visions, because you never know from where what can come.
Right. So can you give us one example, like some topic or some subject which you or maybe kids are learning using visuals,
Hmm.
so we can understand more
So
about it?
I give you one small example of how I started learning
Yeah.
technology, and
Yeah.
now you see a lot of white hat junior also teaching coding to the kids. So I started learning coding when I came out of the, like, came in college. And when I came out of the college, then I started implementing that coding. So how I used to learn was, if I'm learning a Java is one technology that we have studied. So I'll make Java as a character. And this Java will have different parts, like it implements inheritance, it implements polymorphism, technology which I was reading or which I was learning. I created a character of that main topic or that main particular book. So with this, you will be, or I will be able to learn easily or fastly that this is one character which is telling the things and how it is. And using this character as the main focus, I started learning different concepts of what it was all about. So that's the same thing which I started teaching to the kids, that whenever you have to learn, create a center character of that particular thing which you are learning, and from that center character you create small flow diagrams, and from these flow diagrams you create the main story of it. So instead of writing, because we don't need a lot of words when we write our exam or when we learn. Suppose if you read a book, like how you wrote one book, Fix Your Day, I read it. So if I read the entire book, I'll not remember each and every word that you have explained in that book. I'll
Right.
remember some forms, I'll remember some headings, I'll remember some text, or the summary of that book I'll remember. So instead of mugging up everything and creating a scenario for you where you have to do all that mug up of the entire subject, you learn certain topics and create that in form of visuals. This visual will be more longer period in your memory than that entire chapter or that entire book. So I had followed this approach, like because I was doing art already from childhood. So I followed this approach of least resistant path for me.
Right.
Like this can be used to create a beautiful design, and this design I'll remember for maybe a longer period of time as compared to if I read it for. Some people might remember this by
Right.
reading, so but it's just my way of visual learning.
Right. How do you come to know about this form of learning? Because this is not something which we can learn in school or colleges. So is something you found out like by reading some book online, or someone told you to, apply this kind of learning for your own purposes?
Doing from childhood, I didn't read any book, like because there was no internet at that point of time to tell. There's something called mind maps or something called it. So I remember doing it on my own instead of writing in form of long paragraphs. I used to create the designs, like I used to create the flow diagrams. So instead of writing the entire, I'll just make a circle, and inside that circle, I'll write the name of that particular topic, and I'll make these arrow diagrams and narrow lines. And later on, when I got to know about different forms of learning, then I got to know that there is something called mind maps. So that kind of I sync both the knowledge, and you can see a lot of material on the mind maps these days on Google, on the internet.
Right.
So what I did was I used my artistic skills and use this mind maps to learn the things fast. So the creativity can come from anywhere. Like from for me, it was drawing was already there. Then I had to just learn how to implement it in form of learning my academics.
Right. So you're saying ki you, because you used to draw a lot, and when you used to go to classes, you
Mhm.
continued that habit of drawing, and somehow you come to know, okay, this is like cool way to learn because it's faster and it's very efficient.
Mhm. And also on top of this, there's a lot of time when people say no, we don't draw, or we have never drawn sketches, or we don't know how to draw, and then how we can learn this thing. So I tell them, instead of creating a character, you create a very easy flow diagram for you. So you
Right.
don't have to actually create all these cartoons, all these things. Which the idea is to learn visually. Visual learning can be as simple as, like, if you can think of a tree, you know how to make a tree. You don't have to be an artist to create a tree. If I tell you a word book, you know how to draw a book. So instead of writing book all the time, you can just draw the book to show yourself. So like this, you create a lot of visuals for the words, and then use these visuals to learn what you want to learn.
Right, right. And this is amazing because